The Golden State Warriors are desperate to make a deal for a star-level player, and that could include reuniting with Kevin Durant per a source. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Plus, there's no guarantee that Luka Doncic actually signs with the Lakers, or is there? And the Milwaukee Bucks and Washington Wizards are discussing a Chris Middleton for Kyle Kuzma swap. We're going to talk about all that and more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything basketball related. I'm the host, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this for today, y'all. And we got a trade. This is something that just came down before the recording of this episode, and that is that the Philadelphia 76ers and Dallas Mavericks are completing a trade that's going to be sending Quentin Grimes and Philadelphia's 2025 second-round pick back to the 76ers in exchange for Caleb Martin. And this is a trade that you look at the two players in Quentin Grimes and Caleb Martin. They're very, very similar players. Caleb Martin is 29 years old. He's averaging 9.1 points per game, 4.4 rebounds, and 43% shooting from the field and 37.9% shooting from three-point line as well. He's also averaging 2.2 assists per game. You look at Quentin Grimes, he's 10.2 points per game, 3.8 rebounds, 2.1 assists on 46% shooting and 39% shooting from three-point range so far this season. Also 2.1 assists. This is reportedly a move that's made that Quentin Grimes requested this move kind of behind the scenes in Dallas due to Max Christie coming over to Dallas. So kind of would cut into his minutes and his time there. And at being 24 years old, this is actually a pretty good signing, I feel like, by a trade by the Philadelphia 76ers. They have a nice young core growing here. When you look at Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain, we'll see what happens with them this year if they end up, keeping their pick or not, because they're going to be in the draft or not, depending on, how much they can turn this thing around. But I like this move for both teams. I think, clearly the Mavericks need and want some veteran pieces around that team, as Nico Harrison apparently feels that they have a championship caliber team there. So you're adding a player in Caleb Martin who, has been on those Miami Heat teams and gone on runs there. And now for the Philadelphia 76ers, they get a young piece that has similar production. That's basically they're almost the same height and weight as well. So he's going to fit in and kind of more upside long term as that goes on as well. So I like this move for both teams. It's not like it's an amazing move. It's not an earth-shattering move or anything like that, but I do think this is a move that makes sense. And in this, the Philadelphia 76ers get a second-round pick back as well, which is kind of weird as they're trading the younger player, but they're giving up it is what it is there. But I know that the Philadelphia 76ers are probably happy in regards to the way that this move went down. And so I don't think you can really be too mad at it. Their pick's top 6 protected this year. We'll see if they're going to be able to get any lottery luck. They could very well be trying to go all for it as well to kind of get it, especially now that the Chicago Bulls, the team above them in the Eastern Conference standings, has traded Zach LaVine and is probably going to struggle. So the Philadelphia 76ers could be gearing up here for a playoff run, and we'll see what it brings for the team. But with that said, let's go ahead and get into the plan topics for today, man. The first one that we want is that the Golden State Warriors reportedly are making calls on trying to get somebody in here. This is for the Stein line with Jake L. Fisher as well. And apparently that the Golden State Warriors are looking and using the phone to try to find a star. They are star hunting right now, despite players like Steph and Dre saying that they didn't want to mortgage the future of the team. We just had Steve Kerr, after a game not too long ago, said that, they're looking to do something. But now, when it comes down to it, it seems like they're trying to maybe even make a trade for KD, who we heard that the Phoenix Suns are taking calls on as Kevin Durant. Now, is repairing Kevin Durant up with the Golden State Warriors, is that the key here, right, for what it's going to take? It'll be interesting. It'll be good for ratings. I think that, also, you of course know Steve Kerr knows how to use these guys. They played well together before. It'll be really interesting to see if this trade does go down, with the Phoenix Suns being the second tax apron team, if they were to try to be able to make this type of move, what that would look like, right? Now, I know this is kind of all pie in the sky right now. I don't expect anything to happen. If you had to put a gun to my head and say, hey, do you think the Golden State Warriors make a trade for a star not by the trade deadline? I probably honestly still say no, right? And that may be the best. Let the season kind of goes on. with what it is. I know Steph Curry, Steve Kerr, everybody is kind of all in alignment about what the future does hold there. Reportedly they've been in and out of the Jimmy Butler trade talks and stuff like that. But, I don't think that this team is going to be able to make the caliber of move that's necessary to really make them a contender again. That's just my personal opinion, right? But, at the end of the day, we'll see what happens, right? If they do make a move, great. If they aren't able to make a move, cool. It is what it is. Sometimes you just got to come to the natural conclusion of things. I think one of the things that's more interesting in this as well is that the Phoenix Suns reportedly want to get Jimmy Butler. They are still hot for Jimmy Butler. And, we'll see if this all kinds of coalesce into a move happening that ends up with Jimmy Butler being there. But I think the Golden State Warriors potentially being in pursuit of Kevin Durant, it's interesting, but I don't know if it necessarily moves me, right? So we'll see that. In regards to Jimmy Butler as well, right? This comes from Tim Bontemps. It says this: there isn't a lot of interest in Butler outside of the Phoenix Suns, who are struggling to find a way to make room. Of course, if Bradley Beal did not have a no trade clause, this thing may have been figured out already, right? I think that there are a lot of people are agreeing to that. They're handcuffed right now by the Bradley Beal deal, and it seems like Bradley Beal is adamant, and he does, like it came out yesterday, he doesn't want to move his family. He prefers just staying in Phoenix if the end all be all is there. So it seems like right now that, per Brian Windhorst, the Suns are hard at work in terms of figuring out a solution, going so far as to propose 3, 4, and even 5-team deals. And Windhorst also chips in that the Heat are very motivated to move Butler. However, Bontemps pointed out that the few interested teams outside of the Suns have been informed that Butler would prefer not to play for him. And the question that I have here for this is that if Jimmy Butler wants out of Miami so bad, but if he is behind the scenes nixing any trade that comes up, do you just not want to play the rest of the season? Or do you want to forego the rest of your contract? This season? What's the goal here, Jimmy? I get it of having your destination and having your preferred places that you want to go. That's your right as a player. But if you want out of Miami, sometimes you're going to have to come to the realization that, hey, you may have to take a move. You still hold your control at the end of the season if you want to opt out, right? You still hold that. So it seems like right now, the Suns are eager to get something done. The Miami Heat stay motivated in getting Jimmy Butler out of there. The Phoenix Suns are hitting the phone trying to get even 5-team trades included if it means them landing Jimmy Butler, so much so that they're even shopping Kevin Durant. But yet, between the Bradley Beal not waiving his no-trade clause and Jimmy Butler telling other teams that he is not interested in being there, it's just leading all to this place where nothing may get done. There's a huge possibility nothing gets done. And then what does that look like, right? It's just, this whole saga is just very interesting to watch as this thing continues on, and we'll see how it's going to go. We'll see where it's going to go. Now, with that said, from one potential big trade to one that did happen, and that's Luka Doncic, right? And this came out as well that Brian Windhorst says there's no guarantee he'll actually sign his extension. Now, most may know that with Luka Doncic being traded, it meant that he's missing out the contract that he could have gotten of $345 million over 5 years had he signed an extension with the Dallas Mavericks. Now, with that said, he can sign an extension that's still worth 4 years, $229 million with the Lakers, right? And that will be added to the $43 million that he already is going to make in 2025-26, which will keep him under contract with the Lakers. But it seems like there may be some doubt on if Luka's going to re-sign that. Now, here's the thing. And I brought this up over on Locked On Bulls, and one of my co-hosts, Matt Moore, pointed out, he'll take it because who turns down a superstar offer to stay in LA? And I get that, but I'll say this. It's not like Luka was asking out of Dallas. Now, I do think once you're traded and if you're in a different scenario, it kind of opens your eyes to some things. And not to say that it's still the betting favor that Luka does re-sign in LA. I think if you're going to bet on stuff, that's still the best odds to do. That's still the most likely scenario. But let's say that the Lakers don't put a team around Luka. Let's say that the Lakers can't get it together enough to where they're contending. And we've seen it now. Luka's already been traded once now. Who's to say that Luka doesn't do what's best for him? Maybe if he wants to win a title at that point, especially being 26 years old and holding control of his destiny, that maybe he doesn't want to opt out. Maybe he doesn't want to go out on the market, even if it means taking a little bit less money, because he's already going to get way less than what he got if he would have stayed in Dallas. and go to the best situation that offers him. I just don't want to assume that the Lakers just have the in on keeping Luka Doncic because they're the Lakers, right? I mean, there's still a higher chance of that being the case than not the case. But I think you also have to look at, you have to make sure that you're doing things to keep this player happy and on your squad. And that's what the Lakers have to do. LeBron's given them a lot of leeway over the last couple of years, taking money back. Reportedly, he's even willing to take even lesser money if it means locking Luka in. Cool, great, that's fine, that's dandy. But LeBron's in a much different place in his career than what Luka was. And Luka doesn't seem like somebody who's going to be chasing the glitz and glamour of being in LA and the fact that it helps the production company. We'll see what the future holds. Now, Luka has his own things that he needs to work out, as kind of some of the things coming out of Dallas now about him after the fact with his conditioning and people within the organization kind of being over Luka. All those type of things coming out. He needs to rehab his image and his value and get on the basketball court and win some basketball games, of course. But I'm just saying that hearing this, that it's not necessarily a guarantee that and it was never a guarantee that he'd re-sign with the Lakers. It should make sure it keeps the Lakers honest in what they need to do here over the next few months, right? Between this trade deadline, which I don't think they can do a whole lot on, but in this offseason to really make sure that they have a team around Luka that makes sense for him to want to stay there because it gives him the best opportunity going forward. But let me know what you guys think on all that down below. Last topic that we have before we get out of here today, the Washington Wizards and the Milwaukee Bucks are reportedly kicking around a swap of Chris Middleton and Kyle Kuzma. That there's talk between the two teams. This comes from The Athletic that says this. Two league sources said that the Wizards and Milwaukee Bucks have explored a potential deal in which Milwaukee would send Chris Middleton and draft capital to Washington for Kuzma. Now, when you look at this, I actually like this deal on paper. I know that Chris Middleton is still a player that still can be productive at times, right? He's having one of his worst NBA seasons at 12.6 points per game, 51% shooting, 3.7 rebounds, and 4.4 assists. When you look at Middleton as well, he has a player option for next year. So it makes some sense that the Milwaukee Bucks want to extract some of that value now, pairing that with the pick or whatever else it is to get somebody back, right? Now, you look at Kuzma. Kyle Kuzma right now has $3.16 million on books for this season. And it is what it is, right? So, that's what it takes. I'm sorry. Middleton 3.16, Kyle Kuzma with $23.5 million. So that's what it comes down to. If Middleton opts into his $34 million option for next season, he'd still be more expensive than Kyle Kuzma when it comes down to it. He's going to make $21.5 million next season, or this season, and then 19.4 in 2026-27. So what you'll get if you do swap Chris Middleton with Kyle Kuzma is you're getting a younger player who's less expensive, who adds some flexibility, especially that's important for a second tax apron team. And I think that this swap can make a lot of sense. Kyle Kuzma's averaging 15.2 points per game on 42% shooting, 6 rebounds, 2.5 assists on 27 minutes per game. He's only missed 17 games as well this season. That's kind of a lot, but it is what it is. So with that said, I do think that this makes a lot of sense, right? And, Washington also is looking to move on from Malcolm Brogdon and Marvin Bagley as well. So if the Milwaukee Bucks, who are reportedly interested in Zach LaVine or whatever else, so we know that they are interested in looking to make moves. If you can make a move for Kyle Kuzma at this trade deadline, get a little bit younger, take some off your books while getting a player that as of right now is a better player than Chris Middleton, I think that you got to do it. I think that the Milwaukee Bucks have improved so much this season. And for you to try to make sure that you capitalize that on the best that you can, sometimes you got to be aggressive. The second tax apron teams have to also thread the needle. This is a needle that could be threaded. And it provides a little bit more positional versatility as well. Bobby Portis has been in and out of being healthy. Brook Lopez has as well. I'm not saying that it's as seamless of a fit if Chris Middleton is healthy, but listen, he hasn't been. So I think that this is a trade that makes a lot of sense for both sides. The Washington Wizards will get more draft capital back, not that they care about the Chris Middleton contract. Their contracts, their books doesn't matter. They're not going to compete anytime soon. So if you can gain capital while also trading some of your young pieces, that's the name of the game for the Milwaukee Bucks. Do they do it? Do they complete it? That's what will remain to be seen. But let me know what you guys think on all that down below. That's my time. Make sure you guys are following the show at NBA Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the #1 spot for everything basketball related, but that's thanks to you lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you guys on the next video, on the next episode if you're listening to the podcast version, the next time I feel like making one. Love you guys. Peace out, y'all. See y'all later.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.